is up? It is Michaela back again from Invisible Reads. I am so sorry I have not posted anything for the past week or so. School has been very busy, of course, right when I say I'm going to stick to a schedule, so whatever, that's how life is, but I'm here now, and today I am here to talk about my favorite underrated books. This was originally a Top 5 Wednesday topic, but I decided to kind of expand on it because first of all, I have a lot of books that I really love that I feel are underrated, and second of all, I believe this was a topic in January, so I hadn't started yet. Okay, so the first two books I have to talk about are actually two books by the same author, and I feel like she is very underrated, and that is Jandy Nelson. The books are The Sky is Everywhere and I'll Give You the Sun. These books are so good. I think she probably is my favorite author of all time. And that's saying something. She is my favorite. I love her. And everything she writes is just so fantastic. So basically, The Sky is Everywhere is about this girl whose sister dies very suddenly, and she has to kind of deal with the consequences of that. And I'll Give You the Sun is about these two twins, Noah and Jude. It's a dual timeline novel, so one of them is telling the story when they are 13 and very, very close, and the other is telling the story when they're 16 and have drifted apart and barely even talk to each other, and it kind of meets in the middle and you see how and why those things happened. Both of these books are so fantastic. I love how she explores family dynamics and how important that is to her stories, and I also love the love interests and the language. Oh my goodness. These books are written in such an artistic way, which I know sounds weird. It's getting inside the mind of someone that's incredibly artistic, and I love her writing style so much. So much. I would literally buy her grocery list if she published it. That's how much I love her. And she's coming out with a new book in 2017 in June, I think, and I'm so excited. So the next book here that I have to mention is also because of Jandy Nelson, if that makes any sense, and it is Like Water for Chocolate by Laura Esquerel. I'm not sure how to say that. This is actually a book in translation, and this book was actually mentioned in The Sky is Everywhere, and the reason I discovered this book was because it was mentioned in The Sky is Everywhere. So because I love this book so much, I decided to read this, and I loved this too. This book is about a young woman in Mexico and her experience and just her life, really, and it's told through seasons and recipes, and it follows her family, and it's so good. It's so good. And I know my synopsis is probably awful, but if you read The Sky is Everywhere and you hear how they talk about this book within that, you'll want to read it too. It's so good, and I highly, highly recommend. So the next book I have to mention here is Phantom Limbs by Paula Garner. This is actually an arc of this book. I was given this by a friend who has a book blog. She was sent 2 copies of this on accident, so she was like, hey, you want a copy? This is the synopsis. And I was like, yes, give it to me. Basically, this book is about a young boy, and he has a best friend who is an amputee. Part of her arm was amputated, and he's basically letting her train him to try to make him become an Olympic athlete, even though he does not believe or want to be an Olympic athlete, but he's kind of just letting her do whatever she wants. And then his former best friend comes back to town and forces him to deal with a lot of grief and sadness that he has, and forces him to work through it. I was not expecting to love this as much as I did. I believe I was in a pretty big reading slump when I read this, and it just made me want to read all the things. The next book I have to talk about here, I have already talked about a little bit on this channel, and that is Frontlines by Michael Grant. I mentioned this in my December haul and my December wrap-up, I believe, but this book is so good. It's basically an alternate history where women were allowed to be drafted to fight in World War II, and how that kind of affected history and how history was affecting these women. and it is so freaking good. It follows these 3 different women, one of whom is a middle-class white woman living in Northern California. One of them was a Jewish woman living in New York City, and one of them was a Black woman living somewhere in the Midwest. But it basically follows the history of this time period, the misogyny and the racism, and how it affected these women and how they still fought. The next book I have here is one that I have been in love with for years. I've been in love with this book, and I can't get enough of it, and that is Stolen by Lucy Christopher. This book is a wild ride. Basically, it's about this girl who gets abducted from an airport one day and taken into the middle of the Australian outback, and basically how she deals with it. It explores like Stockholm Syndrome and the relationship between her and her captor, and this entire book is written in like a letter format from her to her captor, and it is so good. The exploration of the psychology in this is really what gets me, and I loved every second of it, and I loved like learning little bits and pieces about the captor and about their relationship, and just it's so good. The next book I have to talk about is also coincidentally set in Australia, and that is Zack and Mia by A.J. Betts. I have basically explained this book in the past as The Fault in Our Stars, but much less sicklet and much more actually exploring the themes and feelings of people, of young people that are diagnosed with terminal illnesses. So basically, it's about this boy and this girl. Both of them have cancer, and they kind of encounter each other in the hospital, and how they kind of become friends and kind of hate each other and then like really become friends, and it's so good. And it follows them exclusively and a little bit how it affects their family and things like that, but it's really focused on the 2 teenagers and how having cancer as a young adult is so scary. And I just could not get enough of this book. I felt it was very much a true to life work and incorporated a lot of the anger and frustration that I feel is necessary and healthy for anyone who is very sick to feel. And it allowed the characters to be pissed off if they wanted to be pissed off, and it was very much them just feeling how they were supposed to feel at the time. And it was so well done and so respectfully done, and I can't recommend this enough. It's so much better, in my opinion, than The Fault in Our Stars, because The Fault in Our Stars is basically sicklet, and this is not that. This is an exploration and a dissection of the mindset of someone who is supposed to be at the prime of their life and is fighting to keep their life. The next book I have to talk about is probably, again, one of my favorite books of all time, and I don't understand how more people are not raving about this, and that is The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslye Walton. This book is a magical realism book following the family history of this young girl named Ava Lavender who was born with wings, and it follows her, I want to say her great-grandmother, her grandmother, then her mother, then her, which, first of all, yes, following all the feminine figures that led to her, yes, yeah, that's amazing. But then also her story itself and the magical realism elements were fantastic in this book, and just everything about this is my favorite. I love this so much, and if I could read this and only this for the rest of my life, I would be content because it's so good. And the last book I have to talk about here is Curses and Smoke by Vicky Alvier Schechter. I had never heard about this book before I got it for Christmas a couple years ago, I want to say, and I really almost just gave it away. I almost didn't even read it, but I'm so glad I did. This is basically a historical fiction story about the events that led up to Pompeii, and basically it's about this young girl, and she is the daughter of a wealthy man, and she kind of falls in love with one of her father's slaves, and how their romance works in a society that's very much class-based, and how they survive Pompeii because that's where they live. So super, super good. I didn't think I was gonna like this, but I loved this. I loved the exploration of class and the thoughts of the characters. I thought it was really well written and well done. Okay, so that is all I have for you guys today. Those were my favorite underrated books. Please let me know any of your favorite underrated books down in the comments. I would love, love, love to check them out. My favorite books are usually underrated books, as you could see there. So yeah, please let me know any suggestions that you have, and any videos that you want to see. If you have anything in particular that you would like to see from me, please tell me down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much. Goodbye.